I'd like to talk to you today and ask you the question, what emotion are you trying to own? First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Ian Flynn. I am the creative director here at RocketMill. You may recognise me from eating hummus in the Channel 5 hit show Get a Beach Body in 2 weeks. It is actually true. Episode 3, minute 20, get it on catch up. I've been here for 7 years, part of the furniture now. I've seen it grow, loved seeing it grow, and I'm really, really excited to see where we're heading. So for people who haven't seen any of my talks before or know who I am, I'm a keen advocate in brand and brand ideas. I love kind of playing in this area. I love the amalgamation of company vision and where we're heading as a company, and all about market positioning and where the opportunity is for the audience. Now, I need to clear something up with you guys. I think us creatives get a little bit of a bad rep. In fact, my dad told me a story about 15 years ago about he's part of a very well-known airline industry, which I won't tell you. So when he was at Virgin, he told me a story about a nickname that was banded around for creatives. We were known as fluffies. And I don't think this is what they call them now. I think it was done with a degree of endearment. But ultimately, this always stuck with me because it kind of insinuated that we were very pie in the sky in the way that we thought, very intangible and not providing much value. And then to make matters even worse, when the kind of digital revolution came round, we kind of got forgotten a little bit. Because as Sam mentioned in his talk about people first, that digital is great and has always been great at being kind of hammering home the last part of the journey, the kind of bottom part of the funnel. And as a result, us kind of big thinking brand idea, long-term like kind of visionaries kind of got a little bit forgotten because everything got a little bit tactical. But the good news is, for us anyway, is that we're in a new era now of brand plus digital. And that really excites me. So we're back, baby. We're back with a bang. A little bit of rainbow there for you, Beth, so just to keep it going. And what I believe now is digital is kind of where we've been and where we're at to now. And I really think, based on some of the stuff that we've learned for the past 50 years or so within marketing, we need to bring that back up. We need to bring the brand side of things back up. And to do this, for me, we need to start owning emotions again. Going back to our people first theme, nothing more is more human than emotions. We need to start thinking about like how we can do this, which I'm going to show you later on. And I'm also going to tell you a little bit about why I think it's important too, and I'll start with that. So I'm going to give you a little bit of brain science for a Friday morning. You're welcome. So we've got the limbic system on the left and the prefrontal cortex on the right. These two brain systems are basically involved with our decision-making process. Decision-making is obviously a very important part of marketing because ultimately we're trying to influence that decision-making. So the limbic system on the left is our chief... hello, how are you doing?
Hey, Chief. Sorry.
What's your name?
Upside down. Tom.
Hi, Tom. Round of applause for Tom. Thanks, Tom. So the limbic system is our chimp, mammalian, reptilian brain. Oh, that is better. I can hear myself now. It deals with emotions, fight or flight mentality. So that fight or flight is ultimately an external thing that comes to you. Do you fight it? Do you run away? Based on the kind of prehistoric times with us being kind of a little bit less evolved than we are now. And it's ultimately there to keep us alive. It creates, gives us emotions that gives us a hit of adrenaline to make us, as I say, fight or flight. Then we've got the prefrontal cortex, which is our more evolved part of the brain. So this deals with ambition, reasoning, future plans. It's much more rational in its approach. Now, both of these systems are involved with decision making, but one is probably a little bit more effective than the other. So the limbic system has the ability to hijack the prefrontal cortex. Because of its purpose, ultimately, to keep you alive, it overrides the prefrontal cortex when it needs to. The limbic system also deals with memory. So I'm sure everybody has childhood memories, fond ones, I hope, and they are usually intertwined with emotion. So there's something in the limbic system called the hippocampus, which deals with memory. And when you're feeling emotions, you're more likely to store memories as a result of it. It's in the same system. So the prefrontal cortex on the right is still part of the decision-making process, but it's a little bit slower. So ultimately, when you're thinking about something and thinking about it in a rational way, it takes a little bit more effort for you to do so. The limbic system is much more instinctive. It's that gut feeling that we call upon. And why this is relevant is because in a marketing context, it allows us to shortcut purchase decisions. If we start to own emotions within the creative that we're doing, we can actually get people to memorize us more, and as a result, use us to purchase. We can actually hijack the more rational side of decision making within this, which is quite exciting. So that hopefully gives you an understanding of why I think owning an emotion is important. It gives it a little bit more credence. Now I'm going to tell you how you can own emotions. So this is the kind of technique that we do within our clients and the work that we do in building brands. But I'm going to show you a case study of actually something a little bit closer to home. So I'm introducing to you now Braintenance. So Braintenance is a brand that we've created within RocketMill, and it deals with mental health fitness. It provides resources that helps with that. So us within RocketMill, we're quite passionate about mental health as a whole. We've got mental health first aiders. We contribute wholeheartedly in Mental Health Day every year. And alongside this, we've kind of put a scheme together where in our own time, in kind of every couple of weeks, we want to create something that provides even more value to the awareness of mental health, but in a digital context. So Braintenance was formed. So to start off, as I say, with all of our brands, we do a Venn diagram. Lovely marketers, we love a Venn diagram. What we do is we get the human reality, so how do people feel towards the subject that we're talking about, or the industry or the market. Then we talk about the market reality, start to think about what is the market offering, what is the kind of general consensus within that, and then the opportunity within that. So what are humans wanting that the market isn't currently offering? So the human reality, just going into Braintenance as an example, is that a lot of people are suffering silently with mental health. They aren't necessarily talking about it. Now, generally speaking, there's a lot more talk involved within mental health. I'm sure we've seen a lot of it within the press recently, which is excellent, but there's still definitely a stigma associated with it, we want to try and remove. People generally don't want to be associated with having a mental health problem. It's the same as someone doesn't want to be associated with having a physical health problem. There's still a lack of general education into mental health, how to maintain it, how to prevent illness, and so forth. And people who maybe haven't suffered from mental health or know someone who's suffered from mental health still get a bit confused about kind of the nuances surrounding it. Market reality is there is advice out there, which is great, but it can be vague, not necessarily applicable in an actionable human context. There's abundance of information which can be confusing and overwhelming. I think people are generally trying to help within this subject, they really are. But there's so much things from lots of different areas that some people sometimes get a little bit overwhelmed. The advice varies in quality, and for me, which is I think a crucial part, it's given in either a charity or getting help context. So it's usually happening later down the line when you've kind of got an illness, as opposed to preventing it from happening. So advice is there if you've been diagnosed, but not before. So our opportunity as Braintenance is to kind of combat the confusing and overwhelming element is to make sure what we're providing is absolutely simple and easy to understand and actionable. We want it to be relatable and to provide information in a prevention mind maintenance format. We can't see anything in the industry at the moment that's trying to stop things from happening before they happen. So going into the more creative and the kind of the visuals and the tone that's kind of surrounding mental health, as we think people in the industry always seem to be trying to overcome despair. And this word is obviously, it creates that feeling already. There's lots of imagery that's involved with this sort of kind of holding the head and so forth. So again, to combat this and to cut through, the emotion we want to own is control. Adding to this, our purpose, which ties into the brand idea, is to encourage people to be as conscious about their mental fitness as they are about their physical fitness. And this is the brand idea. Learn some mind control. So obviously a little bit of play on words on there. And what I love about this is we exude that feeling of control, that power pose in the background, and kind of gives you a little bit more purpose and composure surrounding it, as opposed to feeling despair and confusion. Going a little bit deeper, our target audience is everybody who has a desire to want to maintain their mental health. So this is important. This is not people that are suffering from mental illnesses or know someone who suffers from mental illnesses. This is someone who wants people that want to maintain their mental health just like people want to maintain their physical health. Our functional promise is resources to enable you to improve your mental fitness. This is going back to our prefrontal cortex. This is the reason why people would interact with braintenance. Now, emotional promise is giving a sense of control and composure over your mental health. So this is our limbic system kicking in. So hopefully this kind of gives you an idea of the brand idea that we've kind of created based on the market opportunity and the emotion that we want to own, control. But now it's about preparing your idea for activation. So this is like the brand plus digital I mentioned earlier. This is the plus digital bit. The brand bit is maybe the bit that's got forgotten. And now this plus digital is using its power to activate in a really efficient way. So an example could be an HTML5 banner, if we're thinking about higher up the funnel and trying to gain awareness. So we've got the functional benefit here of resources to maintain your mental health. And then the actual brand idea as a CTA, learn some mind control, braintenance. We can see the power of digital now allows us to change some of the imagery, change colours, change demographics, tweak some of the copy, and we can start to learn from it, start to understand different segments, different audiences, see which ones respond better than others. And I think in a history, brand used to be a very expensive thing that was finite, and you would only do it once every 10 years or so, or whatever. The beauty about digital is it allows us to evolve the brand as we go. So yes, we have an idea that kind of ties into our company vision, but now by learning it, we can think about different nuances and different reasons to believe that allow us to enrich it even more. It doesn't just apply to, as I say, top of the funnel, the conversion side of things and the actual product that we're trying to do, and we're going to build this eventually, hopefully. We want to take away the fact of, are you suffering from anxiety? Are you suffering from depression? But actually do it based on trait. So where would you say you sit on the spectrum? Ordered, chaotic, for example. And we could do lots more questions like that to kind of get a general picture of this person. Once you fill that out, you'll be presented with some recommended resources. So this could be activities, for example, and some tips on to do that. Then you've got some experiences of people maybe that have similar traits to you, so containing the chaos. And the good thing about mental health, it is about talking, it is about sharing. When we were doing our workshops, we were sharing amongst ourselves in the world. It's a very cathartic, therapeutic thing to do. So kind of encouraging this way of sharing stories, I think, is a very powerful thing. Now, I love bringing logic into creativity, because creativity can be very subjective. It can be very difficult to define, fluffy, if you will. So what I do, and the way that I test this with our creatives, is to, when I see it, is to say, does this creative make me feel the emotion of X? So, for example, with braintenance, does this creative make me feel the emotion of control? If it doesn't, then we need to make this creative work harder. We need to start thinking about colours and typography and the general messaging and imagery that we're using. But this doesn't just apply for control. It can be whatever emotion that you choose to own within your brand. So is it reassurance? Is it provocation? All emotions all give different feelings, but are all absolutely valid if you want that feeling within your brand idea. So actually provocation is the brand idea or the emotion that we wanted to own with this execution that we did for the Spectator for Sky TV AdSmart. Roll VT.
Is Donald Trump a dangerous provocateur or a great entrepreneur? Does Me Too undermine women or empower women? Does the people's vote need to happen? Or has it already happened? The Spectator, open for debate. Try a month free at spectator.co.uk.
So, hopefully that made you feel a degree of being provoked as you saw that. I think it's very difficult to kind of sit on the fence when you see that creative, because it's literally directly asking you the questions that maybe are a little bit taboo within the current kind of climate. It makes you physically look at yourself. This is my notes, by the way. It makes you physically look at yourself and question where you sit, whether it's left or right or so forth. So hopefully within that creative, we've instilled that emotion that we're trying to own. And I guess going back to the braintenance kind of format, if you start doing creative at all parts of the funnel that own that emotion, so whether it be advertising or conversion or whatever, UX, if you keep getting that feeling of control in this instance, then you'll start to own it. And that's when it gets really powerful. Going back to our kind of brain science that we mentioned earlier, if you start to own it, you'll create memories. You'll generally create memories that people can kind of come back and think of you of further down the line. And you'll shortcut purchase decisions. You'll get drawn forward in as again, and you can override that researching phase that some people perhaps might do. And if you're really good at it, you can create memory structures that will last for years. Some of the best brands do this. I think Dairy Milk is a perfect example, and this shows you that it's just not one execution. Dairy Milk have done it with this execution, obviously our famous gorilla and the eyebrows and so forth. They all want to own the emotion of fun. And what is really, really powerful with that is it's not just a chocolate bar anymore. It makes you feel that feeling when you think about it. And more on a personal note, and for me to kind of finalise, is you make people feel something. I think in an era of digital and thinking about bottom of the funnel and so forth, is that digital has created, and inadvertently created a lot of stuff. There's a lot of content for organic search. There's a lot of messages to telling us to buy. And it's everywhere, and it can be overwhelming. But one thing that people are not fed up with is feeling something. That's why people like music. That's why people like cinema. It gives them a break from the day-to-day. So both from a marketing perspective and generally on a moral level, I believe this is the area that we should be focusing on as marketers going into 2019 and beyond. Thank you very much for listening.